Okay. Okay. Um, Good to see everybody. Good to be back. Um, we obviously we finished the second New Mexico practice this morning. Um, we are really, at least I'm done talking about last weekend. It's over. It's been in the rearview mirror now for 2 days. Um, we can only control what's in front of us. We can't control anything that's behind us. So my focus right now with the team, and frankly, starting at 4:30 in the a.m. on Sunday, my focus was to shift gears and move forward. Um, New Mexico is going to present a big challenge for us. They're much improved from where they were in Coach Davies' first couple of years. His wealth of experience as a college coach and a college head coach shows when you watch them on film. They're very creative. They do a lot of different things on offense and on defense, very unusual. In a day and age of spread, throw the ball all over the place, they are running what is essentially a version of the triple option out of the shotgun. It's like I said, it is very creative, and I have a great appreciation for he and his staff and what they're doing. Offensively, the vast majority of what they do is option football, either zone read option or triple option involving the pitch phase. You don't see that much anymore. Probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, people were running it all over the place, but now it's a little bit unique. It's not Air Force or Navy in the sense that they're playing with the two slot backs and the quarterbacks under center. They do it with a lot of motion. They do it with a slicing tight end, which is similar to what we do, and they do it out of the shotgun. They have a couple of playmakers, there's no doubt, and they do a great job of finding creative ways to get the ball into their hands. Arizona State did the best job defending them, and they did it with a lot of pressure, and that is a film that we have studied pretty hard. Personnel-wise, the quarterback, Lamar Jordan, 5'10", 190, is kind of like the prototypical, option quarterback. He throws it efficiently, but they don't want to throw it 40 times a game with him. I mean, I believe he ran for nearly 150 yards, if not a little bit more, last week against New Mexico State. Presley and Gibson, the two backs, are both fast. They're explosive players. If they hand off the dive and somebody puts their eyes in the wrong place and flows out of the box, they are fast enough to split the safeties and go for a touchdown, which they did against Arizona State. They're very, very good. And they have a wide receiver by the name of Wiggins, 24, who, he's had okay production. They find ways to get him the ball, but the one thing that sticks out about him on film is how fast he is. He's fast. Defensively, Coach Cosgrove, their coordinator, has been around forever, long time in the Big Ten. High pressure. Over 60% of the time you're getting pressure from them. Multiple fronts, moving, not afraid to bring pressure in unusual ways. They will bring 4-week a lot, and they'll show it to you. They don't care if you see it pre-snap. They're not trying to disguise. They're going to get up on the line of scrimmage, and they're going to run around. I think they're athletic. I think they're physical. They throw their bodies around. Personnel-wise, Kimmy Carson is kind of a hybrid safety linebacker who's incredibly productive. 38 tackles, a couple of sacks, a bunch of TFLs. Maurice Daniels is a defensive end. who has 3.5 sacks and a bunch of tackles for loss. And Dakota Cox, who I remember from high school, he was coming out, I believe, in our first winter here. Either I might have a year wrong, but I do remember him as a high school player. And kind of everybody, he was one of those 6 foot, 220-pound high school Mike linebackers that everybody was trying to figure out, could he project? And he's a really good football player. So clearly he has projected in their system to college football. Wiggins, 24, the guy I mentioned earlier, is their return man, and he is really, really good. He had a return for a touchdown as a kickoff returner called back with a holding penalty. He will hit it north and south. Working hard to negate him as a return man in this game is going to be very important to us. We have got to get ready to play our best game defensively. It's going to be about responsibility and everybody keeping their eyes in the right place and doing their jobs. Offensively, we've got to sustain and we've got to make some plays in the passing game and continue to try to run it effectively. We're supposed to have beautiful weather, I heard, and I hope we'll get a good crowd, and I know our guys will be excited to play. Yesterday was kind of an introduction to the unique schemes that we're going to see, but so the tempo was down a little bit as we were doing a lot of learning, but the energy, the attitude, everything out there on the practice field this morning was really good, and I was pleased with Tuesday's practice and anxious to get back to work here this evening with the coaches and tomorrow morning with the players. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Does playing Air Force prepare you at all for this, or is it so different that it's not very helpful?
Conceptually, it prepares you in terms of like a defensive end who won't be blocked, and now he's got to what we call surf, and so even though the looks are not the same, the eye discipline, the reading your keys and trusting what you see, there is a little bit of crossover there. So that experience, although it's not like we've exactly shut Air Force down the last couple of years, but that experience for the veteran players should give them something to lean on and have an understanding of how this is going to all play out.
Do you have an update on some of the injuries from Macaulay and Lane and Hassan?
Lane practiced lightly this morning. There's a chance, I'd say he's 50-50, if not a little bit better. Hassan spent the morning in rehab with a shoulder injury. And then when he came out to practice, we sent him with Coach Eck, who put him on the stationary bicycle, and apparently Hassan felt like he had just finished the Tour de France and made it clear to us that he wants to practice tomorrow. So that's a good sign. Macaulay right now, it will be ruled out for this week. The long-term extent we don't have an answer to yet. He's an incredibly, incredibly tough guy. We will miss him not this week, not only as a player, but his leadership and his toughness. He, on the field, it was obvious that, and it was a bad shot on film. I mean, it's ugly on film. But on the field, he was, talking about, give me one play and I'll be back out there. I mean, that's kind of where his mind was. And, hopefully we'll get him back here not too long. But I think it's going to be difficult for this week.
Do you guys kind of have an us against the world mentality coming into this next game?
We've had an us against the world mentality since the day we reported to training camp, and that's not going to change. We have no control over the perceptions that exist outside of our building. We have no control over anything that occurs outside of our building. So our mentality is that we're going to, whether it's going really good or going really bad, we are going to hang together as a team and protect one another because we are family. And, this is obviously, we're going through a little adversity right now, and we have to hang together. And what happens outside of our building, we have no control over, so we're not going to try to spend a lot of time worrying about those things.
Do you see this week as kind of a turning point in the season, and the fact that, coming off the disappointing loss, you want to get back in the win column and not, like you said last week, let it affect you for the rest of the season? Do you see it as an extra important week to get back on track?
Oh, they're all important. I mean, if it's not as though one game, had we won Saturday, would this game be any less important? I mean, they're all, in my world, even though my world is very skewed, it is every game's close to life and death. I mean, there's nothing else going on right now. We're trying to be 1-0 at the end of the week, and they're all very, very important. And we do our absolute best no matter who we're playing, and we prepare as hard as we can, and we're a dedicated, hardworking group. We just need to, like I said, execute at a higher level so that we can, enjoy some better results.
With Macaulay out, does Ziad step into his position? And is he typically a tackle, or does he?
No, we moved Z to guard in training camp. So in terms of, we're not talking about taking a guy and teaching a new position. I think it actually could end up being done by committee a little bit. I think Ziad will play, and I think Darren Echeverria will play. You want your frontline guys healthy. We miss Adam Corey. We're going to miss Jeremy. It's the one position that we're not exceedingly deep, and that was a concern of mine heading into the year. But this is football. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about it. Next man up. Whoever it is. We have only a few team rules. One of which is Rule 3: be prepared. You never know when your number is going to get called, and we've got some guys all across the football team that are going to have to step in, and if not start, certainly play some meaningful reps. And they gotta step in and be accountable to their teammates and to themselves and do the best job that they can.
Their defense seems interesting. I mean, a ton of tackles for loss, a ton of sacks, but also allowed at least 28 points to every FBS team they've played, including 2 that haven't won a game this year. Or is it just risk-reward, and sometimes they allow big plays because of the risk they take?
Yeah, it is a little bit of feast or famine. They will get tackles for losses, but occasionally when their front is moving, if a guy doesn't get all the way to the gap that he needs to get to and the ball gets run there, all of a sudden they get split. And it's going to be we're going to have a couple of plays that get hit on the line of scrimmage or maybe a yard or two in the backfield. That's just the nature of what they do. I mean, you can't be in the perfect call on every play. But our hope is that, we can hit some creases too and get the ball north and south.
So is there even more on Tyler's plate as far as recognizing where the blitz is coming and getting everybody prepared? Or?
There's always a lot on Tyler's plate, and this week's no different. But, yeah, we want Tyler to recognize safety rotation and pressure looks in any game. But if you play an opponent that does it 1 out of every 4 plays, obviously it's not as stressful when you're facing an opponent that does it, 6.5 out of every 10 plays. You've obviously got to be on high alert and know what you're looking at. So.
Has it been difficult for the team to, mentally move on from the UNLV game, and what's their mindset like right now?
We're past it. I'm past it. I'm done talking about it. We addressed it first thing in the morning Monday, and we've moved past it. Everybody's disappointed. Nobody's more disappointed than us. There's nothing we can do about it. We're moving on.
Doing a feature this week on Celeste Faramo, what do you think his biggest skill set and strongest part of his game is?
His desire to be good, his desire to do things the right way. He's the ultimate pleaser. He just wants to, coach, tell me what to do, and I'll try best I can to do it the way you want. And an incredible kid. Works really, really hard in the classroom, earns everything that he gets, not only in football but in his academic life as well, and might be one of the most popular players on the team because he's just a kind-hearted, good guy that can relate to everybody. I mean, I can't find a single guy on the team that would say a negative word about Charlie. He's a great kid. We're lucky we have him for another year after this.
What ways is he? Can you give some examples of the way he kind of interacts in the locker room with the other players and just his kind of personality?
He can walk from position group to position group and cross every boundary. Black, white, Polynesian, old, young, offense, defense, doesn't matter. I mean, he gets along with everybody. And that, in a locker room of 105 personalities, not everybody gels. That's just human nature, and yet he's got this incredible ability to get along with everybody. And he's just a wonderful guy. I mean, he's like quietly one of the favorite guys on the whole team. I mean, never seeks attention for himself. Never shows up on a list as a guy that missed a class or didn't do this or $100 worth of parking tickets. I mean, he's never that guy. He just takes care of his business. You never have to worry about him. And guys like that are worth their weight in gold.
You have quite a few Polynesian guys on the team. I think like 8. Are they all pretty similar as far as that is concerned? I mean, it seems like those are.
Well, I mean, Chris, are you trying to get me to paint the Polynesian culture with a general brush? I mean, could I get in bigger trouble? I did not have much experience recruiting players from the Polynesian community until Manti, and that was my introduction. And then, I have no frame of reference as to the Polynesian community here before I arrived, but Nick Rolovich is like an honorary Polynesian from his time at the University of Hawaii. Sometimes I think he thinks he's Polynesian. But with his connections throughout the Polynesian football community, and then I don't know what you would call it, my experience with Manti mattered to people because Brian, Manti's dad, and Alema Tao, his uncle, are pretty influential. So it has enabled us to continue to recruit players from that community. And I have found that they are tight-knit together in the locker room. Their families are incredibly tight-knit. But they all have their personalities, are all different. Charlie Faramos, very quiet. Jake Lackadon is not. I mean, Jake is a jovial, loud, life of the party kind of guy. Gabe Sewell's probably somewhere in the middle. But my experience with players from the Polynesian community has been fantastic, and we hope to continue to have a program where Polynesian players feel comfortable and know that we respect where they're from, we respect their heritage, their community, and that they know they'll be taken care of.
Of them. It seems like football means a lot to that culture, and those are kind of tough guys. I mean, is that?
I think that's fair. I think that there has been, for however many years now, I think that a lot of Polynesian young men have been brought up to believe that excelling in football specifically is a great way to get themselves an education and to make life for themselves, their children, eventually their children, their families, better. You think of the work that is being done in America Samoa with camps that are being held there now. I want to say that Troy Polamalu is very active in trying to help young people in American Samoa get an opportunity to play college football. I think there is. I think there is a feeling in the Polynesian community as it relates to athletics that there are a lot of great football players out there that just need a little bit of exposure and that they can find homes and excel.
How did Coach Rolo become an honorary member?
playing in Hawaii and developing his friendships and then being on the staff. And, yeah, I mean, Rolo's the only guy I know from the Bay Area that can walk around Hawaii and just people stop and, recognize. It's like walking around, I've said it before, it's like walking around with Elvis. And then walk into a 7-Eleven and, get this concoction of rice and seaweed and Spam and eat it from a 7-Eleven. I mean, and to him it's no big deal, and to me I was like, I'm not going to touch this. But but I think, in my opinion, in my experience, a lot of recruiting in the Polynesian community is relationship based. I think if you have players that have a good experience and they trust you, that they will share that with other families, and once you have a couple of guys that can say I was treated well and I had good experience, then you're more likely to get more guys. Did I say anything in that whole conversation that could get me in trouble?
Maybe knocking on Stan.
Yeah, well.
Damian Baber, 3 interceptions in his first 2 games. How impressed have you been with his just immediate impact? Very,
and I probably feel like a knucklehead for having him sat for the first 3 games. But the interception in the game Saturday was fantastic. It was a 50-50 ball, and he went up and took it away. And I thought he's tackled very well. He's explosive. He can run. He has made us better, and it's a good feeling to look in the defensive backfield and see 2 freshmen that are both at safety that are playing well. Obviously, this week will be a different challenge because it's unique, and we'll be asking both he and Asani to do some different things than we have here in the last month or so. But so far, so good, and he is a wonderful young man. He has not let any of this go to his head. He has stayed incredibly humble, and he just puts his head down and goes to work and takes coaching, studies really hard. And, the way he studied the last 2 weeks, I mean, we've pointed out to our team, it's no mistake that this young guy is playing so well. Just look at the way he prepares. And to be able to point at a true freshman and say, that's the way we ought to do it, is pretty impressive.
You feel like he's beyond his years in terms of just how he absorbs?
Yes. He is mature beyond his years when it comes to football. And frankly, I know it's still early in his academic career, but our academic support people rave about him and his attention to detail and his accountability in that part of his life. We've never had a social concern with him. Hopefully it'll stay that way forever. But, he's a special kid, and we're blessed that he's a part of our family here.
You see a true freshman start that well, do you get excited thinking how good he could be 2 or 3 years down the road?
I'm hoping he'll be better 2 or 3 weeks down the road. But, yeah, you can't help but, when things are quiet and you're not going nuts, you look back there and we got 2 pretty good freshman safeties that are going to be good for a while, and who are both wonderful, wonderful young men. And that, we'd like to get to a point in recruiting where we're saying that more often. We all good? All right, thanks, guys.
Biggest challenge this defense presents?
They blitz a lot more than any other team we've seen, so it'll be a lot of moving parts that we just got to handle.
Is that something that you enjoy because maybe there's potential for big plays, or I guess how do you guys handle the blitz?
We just got to communicate and to make sure everyone's on the same page and make sure we're all seeing the same thing when they're trying to disguise blitzes and when they're not blitzing, because obviously they don't blitz every play, so we got to make sure our eyes are open and we're all on the same page.
Do they have a position group that's super strong, or one to highlight?
I think they're just a solid defense. They had a linebacker last year that was all Mountain West, so he's a pretty good player. And we just have to make sure everyone's accounted for when we're playing any team any week.
What's the mood of the team right now? I mean, is it fair to say you guys have moved on from UNLV and prepared for the next week?
Definitely. After we just had to watch the film at UNLV, and then we corrected off of the film, and then now we're on to New Mexico.
How big is this game? I mean, obviously every game is big, but you don't want to fall to 0-2 in conference, obviously.
Well, yeah. I mean, we never want to lose any game, and we're trying to be 1-0 at the end of the week, and that's the only goal that's on our mind.
Obviously, last week was a disappointing loss and disappointment in the community. Does that extra noise make it kind of an us against the world mentality for this upcoming game?
I mean, we all have each other's back, and we always have that mentality no matter who we're playing, and this week is no different, so we just got to go out there and execute and try to win the game.
With the added injuries, is that kind of the message of you being a leader on the team? Just everybody's got to do their job, even more important now?
I mean, I think it's important for everyone to do their job every week. Obviously, we have some new guys in there, but they know what their job is going to be and what they have to do to execute, and I have no problem with them being out there, and I feel like they'll be ready when it comes around on Saturday.
Keep an extra eye on some of the guys who are now going to be in the starting lineup just to maybe help them along if anything they need?
Well, of course, yeah. If they have any questions, I help them out, and then if I see something that they might not have seen just because they don't have as much experience, I'll point it out to them and make sure they have their eyes up and are seeing the same thing I am.
Does last week give the team any more fire? Or you personally, does it motivate you anymore, give you any more fire than you had before? Does it affect you in that way at all?
I feel like our team's pretty motivated every week to go out and win games. I don't think we should never be motivated off something negative like a loss. I personally don't want to be motivated off of a loss because it's just something negative, and that's just not how I live my life. So we're just on to trying to win this game, and that's the only game we can worry about.
Doing something on Celeste Faremo this week. First of all, how do you refer to him? Because he said he's got like 7 different nicknames.
I call him Oos. When we first got here, he's like, yeah, call me Oos, because he's my age. So when we first got here in the summer, he's like, yeah, just call me Oos, because I was calling him Charlie and Charles and all these different types of names. He's like, oh, bro, just call me Oos.
Tell me what his personality is like in the locker room and just as part of the team.
He's a funny guy. He definitely is one to always have a smile on his face. He's never really down. He's always there to make everyone laugh. He likes to sing, so it's pretty interesting when he sings. He got a very wide variety of songs he likes to sing, so I always enjoy listening to him sing.
Tyler, Coach just talked about being better against man-to-man. What has to happen for you guys to be more successful when teams are challenging you like that?
I think it starts with me noticing that it's man-to-man coverage and knowing where to go with the ball for certain plays, being more accurate with passes, because man-to-man, I mean, there's not really holes for receivers to sit in zone. It's obviously man, so I got to put it in the only spot that my receiver can make a play for it, and then we have to come up with schemes to get them open and also just win a one-on-one. Sometimes football just comes down to you on another guy, and you just got to make that play. And with me, it's me putting the ball where it needs to be, and that's my one-on-one.
If Hassan is limited or can't go, how does that impact the passing game?
I mean, he's a good player, so it definitely is kind of, I wouldn't say a drop-off, but it's different. We have to kind of go on. We have to go on without him if he plays or not. I have confidence that he'll be ready to go, and coaches always say we got to play hurt, and feel that he can do that, and I think we'll be fine.
There's obviously a lot of attention on the pick six at the end of the UNLV game. When you had a chance to go back and look at it, I mean, what did you kind of learn and see from that play? And how did you evaluate that?
Well, it got tipped at the line of scrimmage, so I mean, I don't expect balls to get tipped at the line of scrimmage, so there's not much I can do when that happens. I just gotta try to run them down. I should have ran them down, but other than that, I feel like I was going with the right place with the ball. Just kind of an unfortunate situation, and they made a good play. So it's kind of how it went.
How close do you think this offense is to reaching the potential and consistently putting points on the board?
I mean, in the second half of the UNLV game, we started getting it going a little bit. Obviously, my pick didn't help, but I mean, we just can't hurt ourselves with penalties and that type of stuff, because one drive when we were backed up, we were moving the ball pretty well, and then we got, I think, like illegal formation and then like a holding call or something, so it kind of sputtered us a little bit, but we just gotta keep doing what we're doing and limit the penalties and always never turn the ball over. That starts with me and then trickles down to everybody else.
Do you feel like the offense is a confident group right now, or do you need a 35, 40-point game to get that kind of feeling moving forward?
Well, we always want to score as many points as we can, and I feel like we're confident in ourselves and we know what we can do. We see it in practice and on practice film every day. We just got to make sure we limit our mistakes and get rid of the negative plays, not have so many negative plays. Because we have positive plays, it's just we have to limit the negative ones, like the ones that go for 3-yard losses or that type of stuff.
Anything else for Tyler? All right, thank you. Questions for Elijah Mitchell?
Quoting Ian Sale, he says just going against the triple option sucks. I guess from a cornerback's perspective, is this a difficult game to prepare for? I guess what do you think about going against an offense like this?
I wouldn't say it's difficult. I mean, you just have to prepare the same. You just more tackling for corners. Got to get off blocks and tackle. I mean, you're not a typical spread offense, but you got to go up against what you're faced against. So, got to tackle this week, defend the run.
What are the biggest keys to stopping a triple option?
Eye discipline. Can't get in, try to look at the quarterback, and then they pitch it out. So, you have a man, you got to keep your eyes on him. Just do your job. Keep your eyes in the right place.
Is it difficult for you though? Because I mean, you typically, you don't want to be looking in the backfield too much. You want to be, defending your guy, but you have to help a lot in run support this week.
I wouldn't say it's difficult. I mean, just as long as the DBs keep their eyes in the right place, I think it shouldn't be a tough task. You have your man. You have your man. If he tries to block, you got to get off the block and make a play.
It's played really well in the second half there against UNLV. I guess what does that half do for you guys moving forward as far as your confidence?
I mean, game's over, but as a defense, you have to hold the team to score less points than your team scores. Couldn't do that, so I mean, as a team, we're confident. As a defense, offense, we're still confident. Game's over with. Can't really take it back. You just got to move on.
What's the mood of the team right now? I mean, have you guys moved on from last week and focused on New Mexico?
Yeah, everybody's moved on. I mean, we had Sunday to get over it. No practice or anything, and then watched film, got over it. Now we're moving on. You don't want to let a loss continue to bring you down, and then you keep losing games. So everybody got over it. And now we're ready to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, with that in mind, how big is this game to turn it around and get back to 1-1 in conference play?
I mean, every game is equally as important as the next, and nobody wants to lose. Everybody wants to win, So you can't just dwell on the past. You got to move on and try to win more games.
So there's some extra noise going around in the community after last week's loss. Does that make it even more important for you guys to stick together?
I mean, we've always stuck together. They're not out here practicing with us. It's us against the world, so we stick together. We have each other's backs, and you can't really listen or buy into it.
Celeste Faremo, what's been your interaction with him?
Love that guy. He's always smiling, singing, dancing. Every time I see him, I feel like he's in a good mood. So he just brings the mood up for everybody else.
How do you refer to him? What name do you call him by?
Either usually Oos or sometimes Charlie, Charles. Whatever he wants to go by, I call him.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned, as a starter and playing a lot consistently now?
Biggest lesson on the field?
Yeah.
I would say just being disciplined and consistent in your play. Because you could play well, do your job every snap, and then the one play that you don't do your job, it could bust open or go over your head. So you just gotta be consistent in your play and be disciplined every play.
Anything else for Elijah? All right, thank you.
likes to blitz. I guess what's the biggest challenge for the offensive line?
Biggest thing for us would be identify what they're doing and know our assignment and execute it. They blitz a whole lot, 61%. Main thing being just recognize it. They don't show a lot we haven't seen. They just disguise it a little different. So recognize it and pick it up and know who you have and block it.
Before I run some odd man fronts, I mean, you haven't seen a lot of that this year, I don't think. How does that change what you guys do at all, if any?
It changes a little. Arizona was a true odd front team, and they are, give or take 50% of the time. So, it changes blocking schemes a little bit. But, there's still a hat for a hat. We count for everybody they put in the box for us. It just changes the way we step or what way we, move on a pass protection. Nothing too major.
You're probably going to be surrounded by two new starters on either side of you. I guess, how do you help them along in this game?
Well, Joey's played more than I did last year, and he's played reps this year, and then whoever it'll be on the left side, either Ziad or Darren, they've been taking meaningful reps in practice against our 1 and 2 defense since August. So they all know what to do and they all know their assignment. All of us help each other out from time to time. It's just a matter of whether they'll need it. And, like I said, the big thing is make sure we have a hat for a hat and don't get confused by anything, any smoke and mirrors they want to throw at us with their movement.
I'm guessing you go against Celeste Framo a lot in practice, being on the other side of him. What's he like on the field? I mean, tell me what kind of player he is to go up against.
Oh, he's a good dude for sure. Great player. Just a good guy. He's very talented. He's a great combination of speed and power, which he's I think every bit of 300 pounds, and he's as fast as someone who's 265. So he's a handful, and a lot of fun to go against, and real good competitor.
Tell me about your interaction with his kind of personality and.
Oh, he's a good dude. Like I heard Coach say, he gets along with everybody. I like him a lot. I'd say I don't want to ruffle any feathers. He's top 5 favorite defensive lineman for sure. And but he's a good dude, and he's fun to be around and fun to interact with for sure.
How do you refer to him?
Oos. Yeah, if you listen, in practice, a lot of times we're having fun or a scrimmage or in the, if they ever call him for some random thing on a punt or he needs to look for something, you'll hear a dull roar from about 30 people on the sideline to say oos. And so that's what most people refer to him as.
Began his career on your guys' side of the ball. You tried to lobby him back over?
We joke with him. We're just locker room talk. I'll mess around or I'll get him one play and I'll say, "Oos, you belong on offensive line. I don't know what you're doing over there." But he's I think that's just a testament to how athletic he is and being able to make the transition and do well at both offense and defense.
What have you thought of the offensive line play this year?
I think we've been fine. We lost numerous guys last year with, what did we lose? Kyle, Matt Gallis, and Connor Talbot. So with the loss of 3, only having 2 quote-unquote veterans on the line between Jeremy and Corbett, I think we've filled in the gaps, and I think we played, very well up until this point. You always want to improve stuff, and you always want to get better. And I think we are getting better week by week. So.
With the way things played out last week, do you feel like you guys have to kind of overcome some adversity this week with the injuries and getting over that game and get back on track? Oh, absolutely. Every week there's an adversity, whether it's flying to Texas or Buffalo or first game jitters or, this week it's, we got a couple guys banged up and it's, next man up. There's 15, 20 offensive linemen. All of them know what to do. It's just a matter of they're going to be doing it on Saturday instead of Monday through Friday in practice.
Has it been difficult to get over the UNLV game?
It's a gut-wrenching loss, and it's a bummer Saturday night and, a little bit Sunday morning, and we get in as a position group and watch film Sunday, bury the hatchet. This is what we're going to do better, and show up to practice Monday morning, and it's, New Mexico.
I feel like all the adversity is bringing you guys closer together.
Yeah, sure. We've always, since January 18th when we reported for winter conditioning, we've meshed and had that attitude and, kind of, hey, it's up to us, to heck with everybody else. And so that's the attitude we have. And we just got to go out and do our job, and that's where that attitude comes from. We go to practice and go to work and do what we're supposed to do.
Anything else for Nathan? All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.